So I discovered an audio solution that really saved me recently in one of the last videos that I made on this channel. If you want to see what that is, stick around, and if you like these type of videos talking about cameras, DSLR, mirrorless cameras specifically for video, definitely consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's talk about audio. In this channel, we talk about cameras a lot. Now, audio is not mentioned much, but if you know anything about productions, you know that audio is super important. You can have the greatest looking camera, but if your audio does not sound good, then you're probably going to look at like low budget performance. So audio is key. And one of the first things that I learned is that you should always have multiple items recording you at the same time. Just in case one audio device fails, you have multiple at your disposal. Now, this is a lesson that came in handy when I was recording my last video. When I was recording my last video, I usually use a boom mic that's only a couple of inches away from my face, but you can't really see it on camera. Unfortunately, I knocked the microphone during the camera and disconnected the cable, and I didn't notice, and I recorded the rest of that video. Here's what it looked like and sounded like when I switched from one video to my backup audio. I have to slow it down in post? Well, not really. You also have the different options. So
What you get is the ability to choose up to 120 frames per second slow motion, so it'll record a slow motion movie. But it'll also let you do a time lapse.
now you would think that backup audio was probably another microphone, that either a lavalier that I had or something else. No, that audio was from the regular microphone built in to the Canon 5D Mark IV. See, I use a Canon 5D Mark IV to record all my desktop videos where I'm sitting down and talking to you guys. And that audio isn't really that good. I mean, you can hear the lens moving, you could hear like the internals of the camera. Everyone knows that DSLR or mirrorless audio straight on board has never been such a good thing. That's why companies such as Rode microphones or Deity microphones make so much money from creating attachments that you can put on DSLR mirrorless cameras to improve the audio as much as possible. But I didn't really look to that option when I was recording my video, because I'm like, hey, I'm at home, I've got the audio from the camera, which I can use to sync off of this microphone right here, and I should be good to go. And I could constantly monitor my levels right off camera. But this time, I did not notice that the microphone had completely shut off. So in post, I'm like, what do I do? And I start looking up different solutions. And some YouTubers have talked about this, but I definitely want to make another video on this to boast it out. And this option that I speak about is an Adobe speech enhancement software that they've got built online. Now, you've got to have an Adobe ID, of course, and I do not know how long this will be freely available or if they're going to add it into software later. But I logged in with my Adobe ID since I have the Creative Cloud, and I uploaded my audio into this software, hoping that this speech enhancement could save my audio. And I think it did a relatively good job. And something like this is so crucial, especially if you don't have any other option and your audio didn't really turn out so well. Now, there is a little bit of like electronic or non-natural sounding sections of the audio where it completely mutes out, or something that should have been a word gets cut off. If you have multiple people speaking and the software didn't recognize that something was a word and it wasn't background noise, then it might cut that out. So it's not perfect by any means, but it saved my audio production, especially because I didn't have any other choice to improve the audio, and I didn't want to degrade the quality of my video from last week. And I think it turned out to be pretty well. What's an idea that you can use this for? Well, especially if you're starting out with YouTube or any different type of production where you're just starting to get your equipment, and the first thing by default that most people buy is their camera. This I'm holding in my hand is the Canon 6D, the original 6D. And this was my first DSLR camera that I used to record video many years ago. And I still have it. Now, this camera was a pretty hefty price back then, but it was one of the smallest and cheapest DSLRs back in that time. However, you can find it online for less than $500 if you're looking right. I'll actually leave a link down below to the price that I found. It might not always be there by the time you see this video, but if it is, you can check it out and explore your options with this camera to start off with. Now, I also installed the Magic Lantern software on this camera to allow additional features that you wouldn't be traditionally allowed off of the regular software, which gave me the ability to record RAW, granted at a very cropped and small resolution, and I can have other really neat features built into this camera. So that's one thing that I did, and it helps me focus. But say I just bought the 6D used for less than $500, and then a wide-angle lens. This is a Tokina 11-20, which is meant for APS-C crop sensors, but you can use it on a full frame if you zoom in around 16 to 17 millimeters. So it's still a pretty good wide-angle camera, especially if you're going to vlog. But let's say this is all you got, and you want to sound and look like you've got an interesting vlog. Now this is well less than $1,000 spent, and you can probably get away with doing something pretty creative with this camera as well, and recording stuff. So let's see how I look and sound with just this setup, thanks to this software. And I'm not using the microphone in front of me, I'm not using the 5Ds camera, I'm just going to use this setup as you see to record this one scene. 1 second. Now what you see here is me recording off of the 6D and using the 6D's audio and just the camera in itself with no other professional equipment.
Sure, I've got lights on or whatever, but it's really just this camera. No embodied image stabilization, no funky features, but you can get started at a pretty good price, and if you can't buy that microphone initially, you do have options. Let's continue.
So there you have it. That's the audio after processing. Now, if you go to the website, this is what it looks like. When you log in with Adobe's ID and you go into this page, it'll let you drag and drop the audio right into the web page. Once you upload it, it might take a few minutes to process, and then immediately, once it's done processing, it gives you the ability to play right off of the website or download the file for use with whatever production you want to do. The ability to choose up to 100 frame. What you get is the ability to choose up to
120 frames per second slow motion, so it'll record a slow.
And that's it. And you just heard how the audio sounded off of this quick recording that I did off of the original 6D. What did you think of the look and sound off of this cheap little setup? It's nice that we have options nowadays, even if we don't want to always buy the most expensive or impressive looking camera. This video, even though I have the R5, did not include the R5, did not include any other mirrorless camera. I just used the 5D Mark IV and the Canon 6D, still reliable cameras up to this day. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you use something like this in a pinch? I know I definitely did, and it served me well. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.